Good morning, dear ones. Reverend Beth Simmons here with your midweek moment. I hope you all had a wonderful week last week. We didn't have a midweek moment because I was on vacation, taking a little Sabbath time. This is something I do quarterly, take a week off from my church responsibilities, and it seemed somewhat like an inopportune time, because it is a busy season, but perhaps that means it was that much more important, and that's sort of what is on my mind this morning. Um, as you can see, fall is absolutely here. I've got my hat on and a sweater and puffy vest, keeping me a little warm on this brisk morning. And it is a busy season. Kids are back to school, activities have jump started, and everywhere around me I notice that people's energy has shifted a little, and sort of like back into that routine. And for me too, this week especially is really busy. My installation is coming up on Sunday afternoon. If you're nearby, it's at 3 o'clock at the Hancock Congregational Church. I'm so excited for this celebration of our ministry together, and that will mark the 1 year since I started this position. So what a wonderful thing, but it involves a lot of planning and extra work above and beyond the regular Sunday liturgy, which also needs to get, it's a communion Sunday, it's World Communion Sunday. We're marking our last season of creation Sunday with River Sunday, and then I'm going to away for a couple days in Maine, to be with folks from the BTS Center for their convocation, which I am so looking forward to. But it means I'm leaving the house at about 6:30 in the morning tomorrow morning to drive up to Maine. And I will be away and occupied for 2 days. So everything is sort of has to get done for the installation and Sunday before that, and planning on my sermon and everything else. So it is busy this week. And so I'm actually making sure that I am slowing down a little bit, if that makes sense. There is this idea of taking time to really feed myself, nurture myself, care for myself, and take time for contemplation and prayer and reflection, which seems counterintuitive, right? And I totally agree. So I just started doing The Artist's Way, which I'll talk about some other time probably, but it's a little program that for creativity. And one of the things that you do is you write every morning, handwrite 3 pages, your morning pages. And yesterday I was running around in the morning, had to get the boys out for a program, and they were running late and having a hard time getting out of the house, and so I didn't do them first thing. And so when I had dropped them off and I was in my office and ready to kind of jump into the installation stuff and working on that, I questioned about whether I should stop and take half an hour to do my morning pages, because it seemed like ridiculous. Like, I have all these things to do, I cannot do this thing. And it is a contemplative time. It's sort of stream of consciousness. It's sort of just letting your mind go. But I did it, and I felt so much better for doing it. And I was so much more centered, so much more ready. My mind was cleared to tackle the things that I needed to do. And then yesterday afternoon, in our small church leadership community gathering on Zoom, we were talking about a reading from a book called Crisis Contemplation. And it's the same idea that in the midst of crisis, whether it's individual personal crisis in a small community, or the crisis of the world, for instance, in climate change or whatever, our instinct is either to jump into action and just do something, or to run away and avoid it all. And really, or just to sit and do nothing, right? That's sort of avoiding also, but excuse me, allergies are terrible today. Also how we know it's fall. But what we really need to do is just stop, just pause, and not pause in a freeze sort of way, in a like, we can't do anything, but in a really intentional sort of active pause, a pause of observing, a pause to take some time for contemplation, for inward searching, for connecting with a higher power. And again, it seems counterintuitive, if there's a fire on the mountain, you want to either run and fight the fire or run away from the fire and escape. But what if we just stopped and observed what exactly the fire was doing? It's not what our brains and our bodies want to do, and yet it can be so helpful to center ourselves and be able to respond to a crisis rather than react. There's a famous quote from Martin Luther about, he says, I have work from dawn till dusk, or early till late today, and so that means I need to spend 3 hours in prayer this morning. The idea that when it seems like you have to get up earlier, hit the ground running, don't stop, that actually stopping and slowing down, taking time for prayer and contemplation first, and centering that, and prioritizing that, will actually make all of those things go better and easier. So that's what I'm doing this week. I did my morning pages this morning, even though I have an appointment. We're heading out the door very shortly. But I wanted to get it done. I'm able to see the sun. It was foggy this morning. It was beautiful. But in the midst of busyness, and in the midst of this autumn where so many seem to be picking right up with activities and being so busy, I hope that we can take some time, even if it's just 5 minutes every day, to just sit in quiet, maybe read from a devotional, maybe take a time to say a prayer, maybe just sit in silence and listen to the world around you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you have a really busy day, go ahead, take a whole half hour or even an hour of just contemplation. And then go on with the rest of the day and find that you are much more centered and able to deal with whatever crises happen. All right, folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Again, if you are near Hancock, come to my installation. It's going to be fabulous. There might be kazoos involved. It's going to be so joyous and wonderful. And if you're not able to join me, I hope that you will send a prayer or good thoughts out into the universe and to God for to surround me and this community as we celebrate and mark our commitment to each other and with each other. Be blessed and be well, everyone.